here at the 2010 National Championships. You know, we're always getting questions about different aspects of the course, and I'm here today to give you a few tips on some of the key features of the course here in Bend, Oregon. First up is going to be the flyover and how to navigate it safely and quickly. So the key to the flyover here in Bend is it's very muddy and soft leading up to it, so you want to gather as much speed as you can beforehand and then let that carry you up. Also, as you hit it, you want to stand up and maybe be one gear easier or be prepared to shift down to keep your momentum once you hit the flyover. Really though, the key is getting it up to speed before the flyover actually happens. So the descent of the flyover is, you know, once you get over the top, it's pretty smooth sailing. I like to click down a couple gears, and as I said, the course is very muddy here, so the more speed you can carry off the flyover, the faster you can get going on the muddy section of the course afterwards. So really the flyover, it's slow going up, and then you use it as a springboard to pick up your speed going down. Okay, so another feature here of the Bend course, and we see it a lot in cyclocross races, is a stair run-up. So the stairs here are pretty long, and there's a few different ways that you can carry your bike up it. Some people shoulder it on running sections, other people carry it out at their side. And for me, this is a pretty long stair section. I'll probably put it on my shoulder. If it was shorter, a couple steps like we see at some courses, Fort Collins or Louisville, they have the green monsters, just a couple steps and you're done. I'll carry it at my side, but here, like I said, I'll put it on my shoulder since it's a little bit longer. So for cyclocross, generally if there is a stair section, they put some type of grip tape down on the stairs to make them so they're not quite as slippery. And we have some good grip tape here. The one feature that isn't too normal is the giant lake right in front of the stairs. So that poses a little bit of a challenge. Usually I'll try to stay on for as long as possible, then pop off. Here I'll probably get off a little longer since you never know what's under the puddle. The first technique I was talking about is carrying your bike just to your side. And like I said, a lot of times this, you know, for shorter sections might be a bit quicker. You don't have to put it on your shoulder and then put it back down. But for a section of stairs that's long like this, I'll shoulder it, which will be more like this. That'll free up my other arms and give me more of a free running motion. Here we have another feature of the cyclocross course, a slick tight turn before a muddy either ride run-up. Really what makes the run-up questionable between riding and running is the turn before it. You lose all your momentum, it's slightly uphill, and then it's slippery on the run-up. So normally if it were dry or if this corner were a little further away, it'd be no problem to ride up it, but this is a little bit of a challenge. I'll probably try to ride it and pop off halfway up if I don't make it. Another technique would be to run it from the bottom, or hopefully just make it riding. You know, if you can make it riding, it might be about the same speed as running, but once you get over the top, you're already clipped in, you don't have a bunch of mud in your cleats, and you can just accelerate for the rest of the course. Something people always think of in cyclocross are the barriers. They're unique to cyclocross. We don't see them in any other disciplines of the sport. So there's a few techniques for getting over them. The traditional technique is to pop off your bike beforehand, pick it up at the top tube, and run over them. Once you get to the other side, plant the bike down and hop back on. And it's fast. Once you practice it, it becomes very efficient and it's pretty safe. The second way to get over the barriers is the bunny hop. And the bunny hop, you come up to the barriers. There's also two techniques for that. The first is to completely jump both barriers, trying not to touch your wheel on either one. That's the technique that I prefer, and if the barriers are far enough apart, then that's a great technique, it's faster. The second technique is almost like you would hop a log on a mountain bike. You put your front wheel up and then finesse the back wheel up onto the barriers, the front wheel drops off it. That is a little slower. It takes a little bit more time to set your front wheel up there, hit your back wheel on it as well. But that technique can be beneficial when the barriers are close together and you can't carry that much speed into them. So there's pretty much two main ways to get over the barriers, and, you know, two ways to bunny hop them. After you run over the barriers and you're getting ready to remount, a lot of times the ground is pretty chewed up from people running. The cleats dig up the ground. Even when it's dry, you know, when it's muddy, it gets really bumpy. But I like to plant and push my bike into the ground to make sure that it's down and not bouncing around, and then I'll hop on afterwards. So just really getting it firmly planted into the ground is one of the keys to not having the rear wheel bouncing around and missing the bike when you go to jump back on. Okay, so another thing that makes cyclocross unique is the ability to swap bikes during the race. Cyclocross races tend to be held in bad conditions. They're winter sports, so there's usually a lot of mud, ice, you know, sand, whatever it is, and the bikes get heavy. They get to where they're not working great. So here we are in the pit, and basically you have two mechanics in the pit. As you come into the pit, you throw your bike to one of the mechanics. The other mechanic has your other bike. You can take 3 steps, I believe it is, before you hop on your new bike. And then other mechanic will have your new bike standing by. You'll jump on, take off. They'll feverishly clean the bikes. And then 3 or 4 minutes later, when you come back through the pit the second time, they'll have the bike ready and you can do it all over again. Okay, so one thing, when you are doing a bike exchange in the pit, it's good to have your pit crew know what gear you want to be in when you jump back on the bike. You want to have your pedals in a position that's easy to get in. I like to have mine at 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, and basically that way you hop back on the bike, you're ready to go, pop the cleat in, and you're off. So one of the worst parts about racing in Oregon are the giant puddles / lakes they have out on the course. We saw it at the PIR Speedway when they had nationals there back in the mid-2000s. We had it in Napa Valley at nationals back in the early 2000s. We have it again here in Bend for 2010. Sometimes above axle deep puddles, and really you don't know what's underneath them. They're cold, they're cold, they splash up on you, but the real problem is not knowing what's under there. Is it firm ground? Is there a rock? Is there a giant hole? And so that's where pre-riding really comes in handy, knowing the course, because in the race you can't, you know, usually you don't have the option of taking it easy through the puddles. You got to charge them if you want to be up there and just kind of give yourself to the course. But I try to lean back a little bit in case there is a big hole and just big gear power through them. Okay, dressing for cyclocross is also a little different than other aspects of cycling. Generally the races are in the winter, so it's cold and wet, and a lot of times you're out there for quite a while because you want to pre-ride the course before your race, but then you sit around and wait until the race actually happens. So I like to bring a few sets of clothes to the course, and for my warm-up ride, if it's muddy, I'll have my tights on, I'll have a long sleeve jersey, probably a vest, and then I'll also have some rain pants, rain jacket, and booties. The booties are key. Your feet get cold really easily, so I'll do a lap or two before the race in that kit, come back, change into my race gear, which usually consists of a skin suit, depending on the temperature, either a thermal skin suit, which is fleece lined, usually if it's around 35 degrees or less. Today it's pretty warm here in Bend, it's about 50 degrees, so I'll go with a normal skin suit, long sleeve, and a short sleeve undershirt, base layer. From there, I'll use some leg balm on my legs since it's warm. If it's really cold, I'll use leg warmers. But here, with it being wet, the leg warmers collect a lot of moisture, they get heavy, and then they don't really keep you that warm. So the leg balm does a good job of keeping you warm. I'll put it on my feet and also my fingers to keep them warm. If it's really cold, I'll have booties on, since there isn't that much running these days in cyclocross, but here it's warm, so I'll just have my normal shoes, a little bit better traction. Some wool socks, because again there's a lot of puddles and it gets quite wet. I like to try to keep the gloves as thin as possible. Just helps a little bit with the feel of the bike. So again, today it's warm out, I'll be running some thin gloves, same ones I use when I race mountain bikes and it's 85 degrees. Okay, so these are just a few tips for cyclocross. I learn something new every year, and you know, the more tips you have, the better prepared you are, the easier it makes the race in the end. So hope these helped you out.